morning. If you could please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Please be seated. Good morning, everyone. I want to welcome you to the August 26th, 2024 Land Use Hearing Officer hearing. My name is Susan Finch, and I will be the hearing officer presiding over today's cases. Let me start by introducing Ms. Colleen Marshall. She's at the end of the dais. She's with the Development Services Department. She'll introduce other staff members who will participate in today's hearing, as well as go over any changes we have to today's agenda. Ms. Marshall.
Good morning, Colleen Marshall, Development Services. To my right is Carmen Mason of Development Services staff. To my left is Mary Dorman of the Hillsborough County County Attorney's Office. During the course of the hearing, a number of other staff planners will be presenting their findings for various cases and will be introduced for each item. We do have one change to the published agenda. Agenda page 9, item H10, variance 24-1048. The applicant is Justin Marks, and they would like to request a continuance to the September 23rd Land Use Hearing Officer hearing. I believe they're here virtually today.
Okay. Is the applicant here for variance 24-1048?
Yes, good morning.
Good morning.
We're just requesting a continuance. We needed to add some additional variance requests to this variance.
Okay. If you could just give us your name and address for the record.
Oh, Justin Marks, 19115 Crooked Lane, East Florida 33548.
Thank you so much. Is there anyone in the audience or online that wanted to speak to the continuance, not the merits of the case, but the continuance of variance 24-1048? Oh, someone in your group wanted to speak. It sounded like. All right, so yes, that's right. So that's okay. So hearing no one, we will continue variance 24-1048 to the September 23rd, 2024 Land Use Hearing Officer hearing at 9 a.m. Ms. Marshall.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
We have a few published withdrawals and continuances today. Item A1, special use 240439. The applicant is Hillsborough County. This application is out of order to be heard and being continued to the October 21st, 2024 Land Use Hearing Officer hearing. Item A2, special use 240625. The applicant is Harvest Time of Tampa Incorporated. This application is out of order to be heard and is being continued to the September 23rd, 2024 Land Use Hearing Officer hearing. Item A3, special use 240828. The applicant is APC Towers 4 LLC. This application is being continued by staff to the September 23rd, 2024 Land Use Hearing Officer hearing. Item A4, special use 240987. The applicant is Avid Group LLC. This application has been withdrawn by the applicant. Item A5, variance 240989. The applicant is Martha Hernandez. This application is out of order to be heard and is being continued to the September 23rd, 2024 Land Use Hearing Officer hearing. Item A6, variance 240995. The applicant is Cecilio Rivera. This application is out of order to be heard and being continued to the September 23rd, 2024 Land Use Hearing Officer hearing. Item A7, variance 241009. The applicant is Kevin Kodakis. This application has been withdrawn by the zoning administrator. Item A8, variance 241029. The applicant is Yosvani Ruiz Capote. This application is out of order to be heard and is being continued to the September 23rd, 2024 Land Use Hearing Officer hearing. This continues. This completes our withdrawals and continuances.
It's early. That's okay. All right. Let me start by going over our hearing procedures for today. Our hearing today consists of agenda items that require a public hearing by a land use hearing officer. I'll conduct a hearing on each agenda item and will file a decision within 15 business days following today's hearing. Our hearing today is informal. I'll ask questions related to the scope of direct testimony. I may call and question witnesses as I deem appropriate, and I will decide all questions of procedure. I'll take evidence, but will exclude evidence that is irrelevant, immaterial, or unduly repetitious. Evidence may be presented in written form, and all testimony must be under oath. Hearsay evidence may be used to supplement or explain other evidence, but shall not be sufficient alone to support a finding by me unless it would be admissible over objections in a civil action. Our order of presentation for today's hearing is as follows. The Development Services will present their staff report. The staff will present their staff report and findings for a period of 5 minutes. So they go first. Second is the applicant. The applicant has 5 minutes to make their, 15 minutes. We're all a little off this morning, I think. 15 minutes to make their presentation. Next up, I'll call for proponents. Anyone who wants to speak in favor of an application. Total time, 15 minutes. Same is true next when we go to opponents. Anyone who would like to speak against an application. Everyone together, 15 minutes. We'll circle back to the Development Services Department staff who will have 5 minutes to address any issues or comments made at today's hearing. And then finally, the applicant goes last. The applicant has the last word with 5 minutes for rebuttal. Regarding the time for proponents and opponents, I don't think we'll have this issue, but when I get to that section, I'll ask for anyone who wants to speak either in favor or against, and please raise your hand so we can count how many would like to speak. We have people participating not only in the room today, but also virtually, and so we will take the total of everyone that wants to speak either in favor or against and apportion that 15 minutes as equally as we can. When you come up to speak, if you're in the room or participating virtually, give me your name and address to start. We are recording this hearing and we want to make sure that we have your information correct. And then if you are in the room, when you're done speaking, if you could see Allison, she's at the end of the dais. Raise your hand, Allison, there she is. She is keeping a log on the dais, and if you could sign in with your name, address, and the case number to which you spoke. So with that, let me turn to Ms. Dorman. She's with the County Attorney's Office, and she will give you the legal requirements for appealing a decision made by a land use hearing officer. Ms. Dorman.
Good morning. Mary Dorman from the County Attorney's Office. This land use hearing officer public hearing is for variance and special use requests. This is the time for interested parties to present evidence and testimony. Once the land use hearing officer has closed a case, the record of that case is also closed, and no new evidence regarding that case may be submitted thereafter. Any decision by the land use hearing officer may be appealed to the Land Use Appeals Board. Should a decision of the land use hearing officer be appealed, the record, evidence, and testimony presented at this public hearing shall be the only evidence that is subject to review by the Land Use Appeals Board. In reaching a final decision on petitions, the Land Use Appeals Board will only consider the decision of the land use hearing officer and the record evidence, including any evidence from this public hearing. If an appeal is filed, the Land Use Appeals Board hearing shall consist of oral argument by the party appealing the decision, county staff, and any interveners, each of whom may be represented by legal counsel. The following shall have standing to appeal a decision of the land use hearing officer or to intervene in an appeal. 1, the applicant, or 2, anyone who appeared before the land use hearing officer, presented testimony or other evidence, and is adversely affected by the decision of the land use hearing officer. It is the role of the County Attorney's Office to ensure that no new evidence or testimony is allowed before the Land Use Appeals Board that was not presented to the Land Use Hearing Officer at today's hearing. The County Attorney will recommend that the Land Use Appeals Board disregard evidence or testimony that is outside the record made at today's public hearing. Any evidence presented to the Land Use Appeals Board that is outside the record created at today's hearing could jeopardize the legality of the Land Use Appeals Board decision, and the presenter of that evidence could hurt their own case. The safest course of action, then, is for you to write down any comments you make today and repeat them to the Land Use Appeals Board.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. As I mentioned, all testimony must be under oath. So if you plan to speak today, if you could please stand, raise your right hand, and I'll swear you in. Do you solemnly swear the testimony you're about to provide is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Thank you so much. Please have a seat. All right, then with that, Ms. Marshall, we're ready to call the first case.
Today's agenda, we have no vested rights, fee waivers, remands, reconsideration requests, or site development variance requests, which brings us to Section G, sign variance requests. Item G1, variance 240994. The applicant is Brandon LP, care of North American Development Group. The request is a variance to sign requirements. Staff findings will be provided by Sam Ball.
Okay. Good morning.
Good morning, Sam Ball of Development Services. I just want to say there's a typo on the staff report and the request summary. The purpose of it is to reconstruct one sign, not install 3 ground signs.
That was my question, yeah. Okay, perfect, thank you.
The applicant is requesting 3 variances to accommodate the replacement of a ground sign that faces I-75 that would exceed the maximum height, sign area, and it would result in exceeding the maximum number of signs allowed. LDC 7030C1A restricts the height of ground signs to 30 feet where they front an expressway. The applicant is requesting a 45-foot increase to allow a 75-foot tall sign to be constructed along I-75. LDC 7030C2B1 allows ground signs to have up to 1 square foot of aggregate sign area per lineal foot of street frontage, up to 50 square feet per face, or 100 square feet of aggregate sign area. LDC 7030C2B2 allows properties that are permitted to have more than 1 ground sign to combine all allowable signs into 1 larger sign with up to 100 square feet per face and a maximum aggregate area of 200 square feet. The applicant is requesting 1,032 additional square feet of sign area to allow for a sign of up to 1,132 square feet of sign area and up to 566 square feet per face, as well as to allow the property to retain all other existing ground signs. I'd also like to add that even though Brandon Town Center includes multiple parcels, excluding the out parcels, it was developed under single ownership, and that would make it a unified development, so that the parcel lines really don't matter. It's really the shopping center. The current sign that they're replacing was allowed to be up to 55 square feet, and the additional area was allowed under that master sign plan, which is no longer available, so they couldn't replace the sign area that they have now, but they could retain the sign height. And that concludes my presentation. If you have any questions.
No questions at this time, but thank you so much. Is the applicant here? Good morning.
Good morning. Before I begin, can I hand in some items for the record to supplement?
Absolutely.
Yep.
Thank you so much.
Good morning. For the record, Kevin Reale, 401 East Jackson Street, for the applicant, Brandon Tampa, LP. The request today, as staff just talked about, is to replace the highway sign for the Brandon Mall. This is under new ownership. It's being rebranded. Interior and exterior renovations, sign and landscaping improvements are all taking place with that rebranding, with some new tenants and an investment of tens of millions of dollars over the next 5 years to try and revitalize as retail changes, to revitalize and keep that property healthy. The supplement I just put into the record I think is very important because we realized some of the items in the criteria were a little bit lacking in our initial response, and so I will ask and try and summarize that here, but there is more information that I just handed to you than I will go over here in the interest of time. So the function of a sign, the purpose of a sign is to identify where to go and for what, for memory building, for attraction, to enhance the experience. On the highway, maybe that's not the case, right? Enhancing experience could be wayfinding signs and things like that to make sure a user has a good experience on a property. But it's also for functionality. And so this picture here, you can see the current sign. It just doesn't do any of those things well. And that's already with a variance that was granted through the prior sign, the master sign plan. And so if we want to rebrand this property, it doesn't make sense to invest and not ask for something that's going to be more effective. And while on paper this is a big request, and you reviewing many files like this would probably note that when you do your preparation here, that it is a big request, there is no minimum necessary requirement in the criteria under the Hillsborough County Land Development Code. There are some other codes that have that. And we do meet each of those criteria, and we're going to try and identify all of that here today. So the function of a sign to do those things must be readable. And so to be readable, there's these basic 4 things that have to happen. It has to have luminance, contrast. You have to be able to see it and read it. The location's important, but that's limited, right? Because we're on a large right-of-way here, and there's only certain places that the sign can be placed. And so to make the sign function properly, the way to overcome the limitations on location and the size of the right-of-way is to ask for a larger sign. And so the request here ties all of the items we talked about on this slide, all of the purposes, it ties all of them together, making it easier to show where to go and for what, and to do all of these other items. And so as staffer said, the request is to increase the maximum height from the current approval of 55 feet to 75 and have a 566 square foot per face size. Now, in our review, we also realized that these criteria are, you're not approving a specific sign today. And so these criteria could allow a billboard, essentially. You could push that height up very high and have a very wide sign, and it would look like a billboard. That's not the goal here. And so we're voluntarily adding and putting on the record here that will limit the width to 25 feet. So this essentially becomes a pylon sign. Much of that sign area gets pushed down the sign, and that also ensures that the sign is more attractive. And that brings me to an aside for one of the items that we submitted to the record, which is a technical report. Now, there's 3 parts to this report. The first part deals with some legal history for signage and limitations and codes, and the last part deals with the model sign code. Those aren't really necessary for your review, but I didn't want to pull the technical report out of context, so the whole report is there. What is important is we went to our sign designers and we said, we have a over 600-foot right-of-way with 5 lanes in each direction and 3 medians. What's the proper sign? And they designed this pylon sign that's about 75 feet high, 566 square foot. And the technical report, which we looked at after, is almost perfectly in line with that. You can see that for a multi-lane highway of high speed, it recommends 563 square feet. And then it ties the height of the sign to the recommended height of the letters. And you can see the recommended height of the letters is somewhere between 32 and 36, and we're in the range of a little less than that, being a height of over 80 feet, and we're requesting 75. So, we really think we've worked well with the consultants to come up with the right size and to limit the width with the pylon sign. And so now I'll do my best to briefly go through the criteria here. The first criteria is the unique hardship. How are the alleged hardships or practical difficulties unique? This property is unique physically. It's a 1 of 1 in the county, and it's against a large right-of-way with lots of trees blocking it. The use is also unique because there's over 200 commercial users on this property. And so if you look at the property itself, I've outlined here the mall proper. There's single ownership of over 100 acres. And if there's some subdivision for business purposes, and if you loop those lots in as well, you have over 140 acres. And that's not including the out parcels, as you can see in the outline, not including the out parcels on 60. And so there's only 1 property of a similar size in the whole county, and it's vacant. Given the way that retail is online now, that's probably not going to change. So it is a 1 of 1 with over 200 users. But the issue here is more the sign. And the specific criteria is also unique because the right-of-way, as I stated, is over 600 feet. And it's also blocked by a lot of trees. And the applicant has worked with FDOT and just has not been able to come to terms with the FDOT on trimming those trees. And so it takes a large sign to be able to see this, and it takes a taller sign to be able to see it over the trees. And so you have unique issues here for the property. And that going into criteria too, what rights are deprived? Almost every commercial property has a sign. It goes hand in hand with commercial property. And here, the sign is inadequate on advertising the where to go and for what. And this is not a fault of the property owner. This is a fault of not subdividing the property for those multiple users. If you had subdivided more, you would be able to have more signs. But this is a mall, a different type of ownership. The code doesn't contemplate this situation. And so, these property owners have the same rights as a 1 acre property owner approximately, and they're over 100 acres, 140 cumulative. And so the rights to effective signage is deprived. There's no interference of other rights. I'm actually going to skip the slide and go right to a zoomed in picture. This is one of the concepts. You're not approving a specific sign today, of course, but this is one of the concepts. The angle's not perfect, but this is scaled to height by our GIS folks. And you can see that, you know, there's hundreds of feet of right-of-way. You're 1,000+ foot of frontage. Actually, I think it's more than that. And there's no neighbor nearby. So, you know, there's really, the code criteria here is to not have a significant interference on neighbors' rights, and there's essentially no interference on neighboring property owners here. And I'll come back to this in a moment, but I do want to mention here, you can also see for compatibility purposes, there's nothing around here, and the trees are so large that it also doesn't create any compatibility concerns. I'm going to skip now to the 5th criteria, and that's self-imposition. This is not a result of the applicant. This is just a product of the code, and that's actually really the reason we have the variance process, is for when the code doesn't contemplate a certain situation. The code can't design a sign section that is effective at protecting a bunch of properties that are close together and consider a property that's over 100 acres on the highway. It just doesn't work. And so this is not something self-imposed by the applicant. This is just the code not being able to consider this situation. And so I've jumped quickly through criteria 1, 2, 3, and 5, because I think they're relatively straightforward. You know, you do have to make a decision based on those, but it's more factual. And the last two have to do much more with the code, and so I want to spend a little more time on those. The first one here is criteria 4, which is to explain how the variance is in harmony with and serves the general intent and purpose of the LDC and the comprehensive plan. Now, admittedly, these are very high level. I would say that on many of your opinions, you're not that worried about this item, but with the size, the magnitude of this request, we wanted to make sure we really covered this. And in reviewing the first section, 10202, it's really referring to the comprehensive plan, and the code is telling the reviewer to look at the comprehensive plan and decide if the request is consistent. Well, the comprehensive plan has a main goal that includes economic benefits. And then further down, Objective 34 encourages large commercial developments at interstate interchanges. And so while this request, or Objective 34 doesn't have anything to do with signs in particular, again, criteria 4 is talking high level. When you talk about the purposes of the comprehensive plan, most of the purposes aren't really relevant to this narrow request. But one of the purposes is compatibility, in which I already discussed. There's really no compatibility concern here, given how tall the trees are and how removed the sign is from other property and the large right-of-way. And so for the comprehensive plan's concerns, the economic benefits are really what's driving health, safety, and welfare. To not have a huge property like this go defunct because it's not being modernized as the world changes. Section 10203 is talking about how this request ties with the Land Development Code. And it talks about the efficiency, effectiveness, and effectiveness of the Land Development Code. The Land Development Code can't be efficient and consider every possible property's sign needs. And so that's why the variance request is needed here. And it's not equitable as applied to this property, because as I said, a 1 acre property in the right scenario would have the same signed rights that this 100 acre property has. And it doesn't consider the full property rights of the landowner because there's no effective signage offered here. So then criteria 6 talks about substantial justice. Explain how allowing the variance will result in substantial justice being done, considering both the public benefits intended to be secured by the Land Development Code, and that's important, and the individual hardships. I've gone over the hardships, so I won't take us through that again. You know, there's just no ability for an effective signage for a property like this. But the public benefits, this is sort of backwards. And what I mean by that is when you look at the section of the sign code that talks about the purpose of the sign code, and I'm paraphrasing here, not quoting, but essentially what it says is this is against private property rights. But the reason we have it is because we have to protect these things, and it gives a laundry list of items that have to be protected. I've gone over each of them in the supplement that I've turned into you, but the most important ones I have listed here. So the purpose is to protect the health, safety, and welfare by making sure we don't have these problems. One of them is traffic and pedestrian hazards. There's no pedestrian hazard here at all. There's no pedestrians on this road. And a larger sign actually could potentially reduce traffic hazards, but at the very least, the research we did indicated that the size is not that is not that big of a deal for a traffic hazard, one way or another. So really, we're focused more on the hardship here. For the aesthetic appeal, the concern there is making sure the sign still looks good. The limitation, I think, goes a really long way to make sure that the width is not more than 25 feet. But more importantly, we're not waiving any other requirements of the code. So all the other check boxes to make sure that the sign is appealing will be included. And then size. The code does say to limit size, but it doesn't say to limit size because big signs are ugly. It says to limit size because it doesn't want multiple large signs overlapping and obscuring other signs. And that's not possible here. And so the only thing in the land development code that says don't do a big sign for X reason is to obscure and block other signs and have multiple signs. We have huge right-of-way frontage here, and we're requesting one sign. And so it's not contrary to that section of the code, because that code is talking about taking rights away. So in conclusion, what's on paper looks like a large ask, but what's there doesn't work, and it's already been varied from the code. It's a one-of-one property. There's no impact to others, and as I just stated on the previous slide, the impact that the code is trying to prevent just isn't created even by this larger sign. And I'll close to re-emphasize something I mentioned briefly earlier. Variance criteria varies from code to code. Some codes are very, very strict, and the bar is so high that most variances should be denied. The Hillsborough County Code is more forgiving, and as part of that more forgiving nature, it doesn't have a minimum necessary requirement. So, as long as we meet all those check boxes, the size of our request shouldn't matter, and I think that the changes we've offered today will ensure that it's aesthetically pleasing as we follow the rest of the code. With that, there is more detail in what we submitted for when you prepare your report, and I'm available for any questions.
Just to, thank you for that. Just to confirm on the record that you're committing to a maximum width of the sign of 25 feet.
Yes, 75 height, 25 width, so that it becomes, it limits it essentially to a pylon sign.
Right, okay, that was it. Thank you so much. If you could please sign in.
Yes.
All right, is there anyone in the room or online that would like to speak in support? Anyone in favor? Seeing no one, anyone in opposition to this request? No one. Ms. Marshall, anything before we move on?
Nothing further,
All
thank you.
right, and we'll go back to the applicant. You can have the last word or not. Up to you.
I do have one last word. I just didn't want to say this on the record in case someone was here to speak that didn't sign up beforehand. I did get calls from 2 of the neighbors and explained that the request had to do with replacing the sign, and frankly, they didn't even ask what the replacement was going to be. So I just, the impact on the neighbors is a criteria, so it's important to note that they called and they're not here.
Perfect.
Thank you.
All right, thank you so much. Then with that, we'll close variance 24-0994 and go to the next case.
This brings us to section H, variance requests. Item H1, variance 240575. The applicant is Veterans Construction LLC. The request is a variance to lot development standards. Staff findings will be provided by Michelle Montalbano.
All right. Good morning.
Good morning, Michelle Montalbano, Development Services. This is variance 240575. The applicant is requesting a variance to the front yard setbacks for an existing single-family home in Odessa. Per LDC Section 60101, in the ASC1 district, the minimum front yard setback is 50 feet. The variance is for 7.3 feet for a result of a 42.7-foot front yard setback to accommodate the existing home. The staff findings are the applicant originally applied for another variance request to accommodate a proposed addition to the home. The addition was proposed to have a 35.2-foot rear setback, while the ASC1 district requires a 50-foot rear setback. However, on corner lots, the two sides not adjacent to the streets are both side yards, and the lot has no rear yard. Therefore, that setback request was not necessary for their project. I'm available if you have any questions.
None at this time, but thank you. Is the applicant here? Good morning. You give us your name and address, please.
Angelique Lockhart, 13210 Elm Street, Odessa.
Thank you. Go ahead.
So when we joined our properties together into an acre, the existing home setback changed from 25 to 50. So I'm just asking for a 15-foot variance on my existing home.
Okay, and was the encroachment into that front yard, that's existing?
Yeah.
You're not doing anything
No.
new? Was that, was it there when you purchased the property?
Yes.
Okay, and do you know approximately when the home was built?
I think it was 86.
Okay.
Yeah.
So clearly before you bought it?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. The property, I mean. All right, those are my only two questions.
Okay.
Did you have anything else you wanted to add?
No, I don't think so.
All right, thank you so much. If you
Thank
could
you.
please sign in.
Yep.
All right, we'll call for anyone that would like to speak in support. Anyone in favor? Seeing no one, anyone in opposition to this request? No one? All right, Ms. Marshall, anything else?
Nothing further. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And ma'am, you have the last word if you'd like it, but you don't have to take it. Okay, thank you so much. Then with that, we'll close variance 24-0575 and go to the next case.
Next item is item H2, variance 240852. The applicant is Abdurrahman Al-Irani. The request is a variance to University Community Area Development Regulations and to parking and loading standards. Staff findings will be provided by Carolyn Peddle.
Okay. Good morning.
Good morning. Carolyn Peddle, Development Services. Variance request 240852. The applicant is requesting multiple variances to the University Community Area Development Regulations and the variance to parking and loading standards. Per LD Section 31303E, a building's primary orientation shall be towards the street rather than parking areas, and the primary building entrance shall be visible and directly accessible from a public street. The applicant requests to allow for the proposed buildings to face the parking area and have the entrance screened from the public streets by existing buildings. LDC Section 31304B, front yard building setbacks along all street frontages shall be a minimum of 10 feet to a maximum of 20 feet. The applicant is requesting a variance of 65 feet to allow for a maximum setback of 85 feet for the existing and proposed buildings. Per LDC Section 31306, all development shall be in accordance with the standards for non-residential, mixed-use, and multifamily as described above and appropriate. Additionally, all structures along 22nd Street shall be a minimum of 2 stories in height. The request is to allow the existing buildings to remain as 1 story. And then per LDC Section 60502E, the number of required off-street parking spaces for a multifamily residential is 2 spaces per dwelling unit. The variance request is of 4 spaces to allow a maximum of 8 spaces rather than the required 12 spaces. And then per my findings, there's a preliminary site plan under project ID 0987 for the proposed buildings. That concludes my report.
Just one quick question on that second variance request. To confirm that the 65 feet resulting in a maximum of 85 feet, that's all in the front yard. There's no request for a variance of the side or the rear. Is that
Correct.
correct? Okay, that was it. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, is the applicant here? Is the applicant here for variance 24-0852? Ms. Marshall, any word on the applicant?
Not that I'm aware of.
All right.
We can,
So what we'll do is we'll hold this and take it back up at the end of the hearing and see, perhaps they're just running late. Ms. Peddle, do you have any information on? You have to come on the record.
I sent an email on Friday, but I don't believe I got a response.
Reply, okay. Well, let's just hold it and we'll come back and see if they show up. If not, we'll just continue it. So,
I'll give them-
all right, thank you so much. Then we'll hold case variance 24-0852 and go to the next case.
next item is item H3, variance 240915. The applicant is Jamie M. Batista and Rosaba Lopez. The request is a variance to lot development standards and to accessory structure requirements. Staff findings will be read by Tanya Chabella.
Good morning.
Good morning, Tania Chapela, Development Services. The applicant is requesting a variance to allow a porch roof extension on the front of the existing home on the property, which is zone RSS6. Per the Land Development Code, Section 60101, Lot Development Standards, a minimum of a 25-foot front yard is required. The applicant is requesting a variance of 5.3 feet to allow a 19.7-foot front yard setback. This concludes my presentation.
Thank you so much. Is the applicant here? Is the applicant here for variance 24-0915? Good morning.
Good morning.
Can you give us your name and address, please?
We are applying for the variance to development standard because we're building one portal in front of our house, and we take a setback in 5 feet. And we need to save our portal and construction, you know. This is the reason we are here to apply.
Okay, two things. One, could you give us your name and address for the record?
Jamie Batista and Rosalba Lopez.
And your address, please.
Eh?
Your address, your home address.
10715 Tabor Drive, Tampa, Florida, 33625.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. And then my only question was, have you talked to your neighbors about this variance?
Yeah, we talking about we send the letter to all the neighbor and talking with any neighbor. So there is no problem to the front portal.
So no one had an issue
No.
with it? All right. Does that conclude what you wanted to say? All right, thank you so much. If you could please sign in with the clerk's office.
Okay.
Thank you very much. Is there anyone that would like to speak in support? Anyone in favor? Seeing no one, anyone in opposition to this request? All right, no one. Ms. Marshall, anything else?
Nothing further, thank you.
Sir, anything you wanted to add before we close? Is there anything you wanted to add before I close? Anything else you wanted to say? Okay, thank you so much. I appreciate it. Then with that, we'll close variance 24-0915 and go to the next case.
Next item is item H4, variance 24-0934. The applicant is James A. Drass and Bonnie P. Gillespie. The request is a variance to underage occupancy within the Sun City Center Senior Citizen Overlay District. Staff findings will be provided by Michelle Montalbano.
Good morning, Michelle Montalbano, Development Services. The applicant is requesting a variance to the Sun City Center Senior Citizen Overlay District underage occupancy standards. The request is to allow the child who is under 18 years of age to reside at the residence within the boundaries of the overlay district. The overlay district prohibits persons 18 years of age or under to occupy a dwelling unit for more than 30 calendar days per year. Per LDC Section 30109 D2C, variances to the underage occupancy standards can be considered for exceptional or unusual family situations and shall be valid for a period of 2 years. The applicant is requesting their minor child live at the residence due to an emergency situation for a maximum of 2 years. I'm available if you have any questions.
No questions at this time.
Thank
Thank you. Is the applicant here? Good morning.
Good morning. My name is James Strass. I live at 1621 Woodmore Drive, Sun City Center, Florida, 33573.
I'm also here virtually. My name is Kevin Hirsch. I'm with the law firm Carlson Law PC here on Mr. Drass and Mr. Leslie's behalf.
Okay, go ahead with whoever would like to do the presentation.
Sure. I actually was planning on conducting just like a brief direct examination of Mr. Drass, but if that's not otherwise permitted, I'm happy to just provide a brief presentation.
It is permitted, sir, if you can handle it however you'd like.
Okay. All right. Perfect. Thank you so much. So, Mr. Drass, would you
James A. Drass.
All right, and you would mind also stating your address for the record as well, please?
1621 Woodmore Drive, Sun City Center, Florida, 33573.
Perfect, thank you. How long have you lived in this address, Mr. Grass?
We moved in May of 2020.
Okay. Is this address 1621 Woodmore Drive, is this home located within any kind of a planned community?
Yes, it's located within the Sun City Center Association and the Fairview Homeowners Association.
Okay. Are there any type of special restrictions for living in the Sun City Center community?
Both associations have their bylaws that you have to adhere to. I think more important to this case is that it is a senior citizen dedicated area.
Okay. So is this a community that's age restricted then for senior citizens?
Yes, sir. I believe you have to have someone in the house over 60, and I believe you can have people at 55 or older than 19 there.
Okay. So minors then, any minors that are under 18 or 18 or under, excuse me, would it be normally permitted to live in the community otherwise?
That's correct.
Okay. Are you aware of any other minors that live in the community?
I have seen several different children on the bus, school bus. I have seen surveys, census data that says there's roughly 5%, approximately 5% of minors in the Sun City Center zone.
Okay. And then does anyone else live at 1621 Woodmore Drive with you other than yourself?
My girlfriend Bonnie Gillespie and my son James Drass.
All right. How old is James currently?
James turned 17 the end of July.
All right. How long has James lived with you at 1621 Woodmore Drive?
James came to us 2022, August 4th, I believe.
All right. Where was James living before he came to you in August 2022?
James lived with his mother in the Philippines. I was trying to figure that down.
Okay. All right. Would you please state James's mother's name for the record?
Andolia Bames.
All right. Now tell us a little bit more just about the circumstances that led James to come with you and Ms. Gillespie from the Philippines.
I kept in touch. I'd always dreamed of my son being with us, but I'd given up after 5 years or so more of him being gone. He was with me till he was about 4 years old, and then she took him back to the Philippines and was off with a different gentleman as her partner. She's kept in touch mainly through Facebook messaging off and on. One time I had purchased a house there for them. And then I guess around the beginning of 2022, she started sending me messages about James is going to come live with you. To be honest, we did not have a very trustworthy relationship, and I didn't believe most of what she was saying. Kept coming from May on, messages off and on, he's going to come, he's going to come. I still didn't believe it, and then in July, she actually started sending itineraries, and that's when I informed her that I lived in Sun City Center, when I sent her the website for the bylaws and said that I can't have him. I had to write a very hard note for me to say to my son was that you can't come here at this age.
So even so, James, so at this moment then purchased James a plane ticket to come then live with you, even though you were already aware of this, the age restrictions in Sun City Center.
Yes, she did. She explained to me that she had some financial hardships. I think she was losing the house that she lived in. She had 2 other children with other fathers to take care of, and said there's no choice, and just sent me the itinerary and the picture, and we decided we had to start to believe it, even though I didn't think it would ever happen.
Okay, understood. And then, so just to clarify, you just said this before, but James then came to live with you in August of 2022.
Yes, I believe it was around the 4th of August. He landed in Tampa. He traveled by himself as a minor from the Philippines through JFK to Tampa.
Okay. And since moving in with you in this Felicity, tell us a little bit more just about what life at home is like with James.
James has been a blessing. He's an honor roll student. He's in his last year of high school, senior high school. He has, like I said, on the honor roll, the national honor roll. He does a lot of volunteer work with the community. He's part of the math team at the school. He's volunteered at Alzheimer's functions, the local museum, Railroad Museum. He's outgoing as far as contributing to the social society area. He has gotten along very well with the neighbors that have met him. A lot of the neighbors have never seen him because my son basically spends almost 99% of his time on school. While he's in his senior year, he's also doing a junior years at community college and hopes to graduate with a 2-year degree in college at the same time as he finishes high school. That would be the end of this school year. He just started a week ago. James wants to get into the medical field as a doctor. He hasn't picked the exact psychiatry, something like that area. He's on track right now for the Bright Scholarship. This Saturday, he just took his SATs for the second time. And with the right score, he should be pretty much guaranteed a scholarship to a Florida university.
Wonderful, good to hear. And then as far as you know, has James caused any kind of disturbance to any of the other neighbors in the Southern Center District?
Not to my knowledge. The neighbors around us that know him on the adjacent sides of our house have all said they would support the variance. I would say there's probably a couple of neighbors that have said, you know, well, did you hide him? And I said, he's too big to hide. He's contributed. They're like, well, we never saw him. I said, well, we always take him out with us, so I don't know what there would be a problem. But it wouldn't be surprising me because they have every right that they bought into that area expecting not to have children. But I guess I'm trying to explain is that my son is very close to being an adult, and in 1 year, hopefully he'll be in school again, so we might not even live there.
Understood. And then if James isn't permitted to stay in Sun City Center until his graduation and ultimately his move on to college, does he have any other planned family before him that he'd be able to stay?
No, sir.
Okay. And then as far as you know, are there any other residents in the Sun City Center District that are facing this type of situation or seeking a similar type of variance?
Personally, no. Like I said, I know that last year there was about 5 kids that would get off the bus at the same Sun City stop. This year, I think it's 4 kids. I don't know them personally, and I've not tried to reach out and understand their personal lives. And then, like I said, you've seen the census data for Sun City Center that says roughly 5% of the population is of minor age.
Understood. All right. I have no further questions for you, Mr. Grass. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Is there anything you want to add before I move on?
Just that I would very much appreciate the consideration and keep in mind in my son's career and education that he doesn't have to readjust.
All right, thank you so much. If you could please sign in with the clerk's office. Thank you for your testimony. All right, we'll call now for anyone who would like to speak in support. Anyone in favor? All right, you want to come up? Ma'am, were you also going to speak?
I did want to speak in favor of
Yeah,
the
sure.
situation.
You give us your name and address. If anyone else wants to speak, if you could go ahead and come up.
My name is Francisco Matos, 6906 North Hill Avenue. I do not know this gentleman. just from here to circumstances, I think for the interest of family togetherness, it would be best if this variance would be allowed for him.
Thank you for your testimony. If you could please sign in as well. Yes, ma'am. While she's coming up, anyone else that would like to speak in support? Okay, name and address.
My name's Terry Burt, and I happen to be Jim's sister. I also live in Sun City Center. So the only option that I know of that James would have if he wasn't allowed to stay with Jim and Bonnie would be to come with me, but I face the same problem. So I would like to request, again, that you look favorably on this, because he's been such a blessing for the past 2 years. I watch him with Bonnie and Jim, and he's really helped a lot in a lot of things in his family. So I'd really like to see him stick around.
Thank you so much. If you could just give us your address, please.
Oh, my address is 1204 Emerald Dunes Drive in Sun City Center.
Perfect. Thank you so much. If you could sign in. All right, seeing no one else in support, is there anyone in opposition that would like to speak? Anyone that would like to speak against the application? All right, seeing no one. Ms. Marshall, anything else?
Nothing further.
All right, sir, you have the last word if you'd like it before we close.
Sure. We're here, Tim. If you'd like, I'm happy to present for you. If you'd like to speak, you can go ahead as well.
I would just, again, appreciate your consideration. I believe some of the neighbors did submit letters for support too.
I
Thank
did
you.
see
Thank you.
that. Yes, sir. All right, Mr. Hirsch, anything else before I close?
Yeah, sure. Just to summarize briefly some of the testimony and the evidence that's been presented before this hearing today. Essentially, we've established that this is basically there is the testimony evidence that's necessary to support the fact that there are unusual family circumstances and hardships that the variance process is designed to address. Basically, just to go through the individual criteria. Essentially, Section 3.0109 of the code doesn't otherwise restrict residents' ability to care for family members or have to live with them, so long as there's an occupant over the age of 55 years old and no permanent occupants under 18. If the variance is denied, Mr. Grass will be deprived of the ability to care for his minor son, and he ultimately probably won't have any other family or support system in Florida to take care of him until he is from college. He's not substantially interfering or injuring the rights of anyone else in the Sun City Center community. The Housing for Older Persons Act of 1995 does allow for an age restriction exception to the restriction or the requirements, of the Fair Housing Act, so long as there's at least 80% of residents that are over 55. Since there's only 5.9% of the community that falls within the range of 18 years and under, allowing things to live in the community wouldn't affect any sort of exceptions to those age restriction requirements. The granting of the variance itself would also serve the general intent and purpose of the Land Development Code. Section 1.2.03 does state that in order to foster and preserve public health, safety, comfort, and welfare, that the intent of the code or the development process to be equitable with respect to the consideration of interest of the county citizens. The variance is in harmony with this intent to preserve public safety and welfare, since it will ensure that a minor child's basic living needs are met before he becomes an adult. And considering, of course, the abrupt manner in which James did move to the U.S., he likely would be able to find the support elsewhere if he's not permitted to live with his father. The circumstances leading to this variance request don't result from James' own actions. James' mother, did send James to live with Mr. Draft in spite of being aware of the age restrictions for the Sun City Center community, and Jim did in fact purchase a home to care for James and his mother in the Philippines. So given the circumstances, Mr. Draft couldn't impose this hardship upon himself, and he didn't prevent any sort of actions that would otherwise contribute to this hardship. The variance would also result in substantial justice being done, given that it will ensure that James receives the welfare, the safety, and the comfort that he needs to complete high school, given the exceptional family circumstances. So thank you for your time, I appreciate it.
All right, thank you so much. Then with that, we'll close variance 24-0934 and go to the next case.
Next item is item H5, variance 240951. The applicant is Cynthia A. and Terry M. Smith Jr. The request is a variance to lot development standards. Staff findings will be provided by Jared Folan.
Good morning.
Good morning, Jared Follen with Development Services. So this application, it's a request to get a variance to encroach into a required 50-foot rear yard setback in order to build a single-family home on the lot. So in their request, they are looking to encroach 13.5 feet into the rear yard, which would result in a 36.5-foot rear yard setback. If you look at the lot, I'm not sure if you have the map on you right now.
I do have the survey, yeah.
It looks like a normal lot, but with this case, the longer edge or length side is on the road side, which would be the front yard. So it's the depth. There's not much depth to the lot, which kind of limits them, and which is why they're asking for the variance.
Let me ask you about that. The rear of the property, the survey adjacent to the east shows Patrick Estates Way. And so is that platted right away?
I was looking at that earlier. It's hard to tell. It's a very small, looks like a driveway almost that comes off from the north. But I don't know if it is right away or not.
So it would appear that no home would be adjacent to the east from the rear yard.
Correct, but I believe there is another lot on the other side of that driveway.
Further east, perhaps.
Yeah, I could be wrong. I can look into that for you.
It was just a question whether something could be built abutting, and it appeared from that driveway that it could not.
Right, I would agree so, yeah.
Okay, all right, perfect. Thank you so much, I appreciate it. Is the applicant here? I understand the applicant is virtual. Good morning.
Terry Smith, 112 South 4th Street, Plant City, Florida, 33563.
All right, go ahead with the reason for your request.
Yes, he explained it very well. Basically, we're short the rear setback, east setback. We're just requesting 13.5 feet in addition for the rear.
All right, and you heard my question to staff. Do you know if that is it a driveway that's right adjacent to the rear of your property?
It's like a road, dirt road.
Okay.
It's not really paved.
Yeah, the reason I ask is I was just trying to confirm that nothing could be built immediately behind your house, it appeared.
Oh, no.
Okay. All right, that was my only question. Does that conclude what you wanted to say?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Perfect. Thank you for your testimony. I appreciate it. Is there anyone in the room or online that would like to speak in support? Anyone in favor? Seeing no one. Anyone in opposition? Okay, no one. Ms. Marshall, anything else?
Just one clarification for the record. The Patrick Estate Way that's to the east of the subject property, it's a 30-foot platted ingress-egress easement that serves the 3 lots to the east of the subject property.
All right, perfect. That answers my question. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. All right, and then we'll go back. Ms. Smith, you have the last word if you'd like it.
You did, if I understood you correctly in the beginning, you said there's 15 days for us receiving a clearance or approval.
Yes, I'm obligated. Yes, ma'am. I make a decision 15 business days following today's hearing. And so that is, let me give you the date. Hang on one second. The date, I'll file my decision on September 17th. That's the date you'll find out.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Then with that, we will close variance 24-0951 and go to the next case.
Next item is item H6, variance 240998. The applicant is Max and Pamela Chesler. The request is a variance to minimum lot width standards. Staff findings will be provided by Jared Folan.
Hello again, Jared Follen with Development Services. So this application, this is a variance request to allow 2 140 foot-wide lots in order to move forward with the non-conforming special use expansion on both the parcels. So there's two subject parcels. These two were created in 1996. The original parent parcel was created in 1977, and that also had a less than standard width. But in 1996, they did decide to split it, so they're asking for a variance on both of those lots to allow for the 140 feet. So yeah, that's a variance of 10 feet.
So the parent parcel was 1977, you said, and then the split for two came in the 90s?
96, yes.
And so was there a violation or something? Why has this come to light now?
Well, the split was not done through the county.
I see.
So
It was just a
it's not
legal
really
description.
a recognized split.
I see.
Yeah.
Excuse me. And also, if you can, on the Elmo, confirm that parcel line between 1 and 2. It's difficult to see on this site plan.
Yeah. Let me take a look here. If you look at the third survey page there, boundary survey, it just shows one lot there. On this particular one, it's that line just north of the 2. It's the darkened line.
Do you have it in a paper version?
I have it right here.
Yeah. Can you just put it on the Elmo and just point it to me? And just bring that microphone over to you. Perfect. Okay.
The darkened line I was pointing to right there.
So that's the line between 1 and 2?
Correct.
Okay, that's all I needed. Thank you so much.
All right,
Appreciate
thank
it.
you.
Is the applicant here? You come forward. Good morning.
Good morning. My name is Pamela Morgado Chesler, 6210 West Linebaugh Avenue. I'm also the owner for 6208 West Linebaugh. When my father deeded to us in 96, the back parcel, we were not aware about the 150-foot.
I see.
So it was 140. So now it's been brought to our attention, and we want to correct it with the variance.
All right, understood. That was my only question, is where that actual line was, but
Right.
Mr. Follen answered that. All right, anything else you want to add?
No, ma'am.
All right, thank you so much. Please sign in. Is there anyone in the room or online that would like to speak in support? Anyone in favor? Seeing no one, anyone in opposition? All right, Ms. Marshall, anything else?
Nothing further.
All right, ma'am, anything else before we close? Okay, thank you. Then with that, we'll close variance 24-0998 and go to the next case.
Next item is item H7, variance 24-1021. The applicant is Louis C. Mello Fonseca and Adriana I. Perez. The request is a variance to lot development standards. Staff findings will be provided by Tanya Chavella.
Tanya Chapela, Development Services. The applicant is requesting a variance to accommodate a storage addition on the side of the existing home on the property zone RS6. Per the Land Development Code, Section 60101 Lot Development Standards, a minimum of 7.5-foot side yard is required. The applicant is requesting a 4 feet 11 inches variance to allow a 2-foot 7-inch side yard setback. And this concludes my presentation.
Thank you so much. Is the applicant here? Good morning.
Hi, good morning. I'm Adriana. His is Louis. Our address is 8404 Foxcroft Drive, Tampa.
Need your last name for the record as well, please.
Oh, Perez and Mello.
Thank you so much.
So we were applying for a variance due to a storage unit that we created on the side of the building.
Okay. Have you talked to your neighbors about the request?
Yes, we did it. So we get in touch with the neighbor that is close to the house, and he said he don't care what we do. I mean, we already did it, but he said he's okay with it.
Okay. All right, anything else you want to add before we move on?
Yes. Like, one of the main reasons we did it is back 2019 with the COVID. We had somebody close to our family that died because he got to go outside, like get exposed to buy food and all that. So from there, we went out, like, I told my wife to make a plan to have something that we can store, like water and all that we don't have to go outside in case of that happen again. So that's one of the main reasons that we did it. We don't know, like, nothing about it, like that we had to go through all the plans and all that. But it is what it is.
Okay, all right. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. If you could both sign in with the clerk. Thank you. All right, anyone that would like to speak in support? Anyone in favor? Seeing no one, anyone in opposition? All right, Ms. Marshall, anything?
Nothing further.
All right. Sir, anything else you want to add before we close? All right, thank you so much. I appreciate your testimony. Then with that, we'll close variance 24-1021 and go to the next case.
Next item is H8, variance 24-1028. The applicant is Agueda M. Vargas. The request is a variance to lot development standards and variance to accessory dwelling requirements. Staff findings will be provided by Isis Brown.
Good morning.
Good morning, Isis Brown, Development Services. Variance 24-1028. The request is for multiple variances to accommodate an existing single-family dwelling and an existing attached accessory dwelling on properties zoned RSC 9. Per LEC Section 6.01, minimum front yard setback of 20 feet in the RSC zoning district and minimum side yard and minimum front and rear of 20 feet and side yards of 5 feet. The applicant is requesting a variance of 10.79 feet on the rear, which would be the west, a variance of 0.67 feet to the north property line, which is a side yard, and a variance of 0.30 feet to the south, which is also a side yard. Additionally, the applicant is requesting per LDC section 6.11.02.a a variance to the accessory dwelling per LDC section 6.11.02a. Accessory dwelling shall not conform or on lots less than 7,000 square feet. Since the lot is currently 6,100 square feet, there's a variance of 900 square feet in question. And this variance was brought per citation HC-CMP-23-000-194, which has been placed in the record for your review.
Ms. Brown, let me ask you, just for clarification, so if you have a copy of their site plan or their survey, can you point to me where is the accessory dwelling unit? It's difficult to tell.
If I am not mistaken, I believe it's back here as attached.
Okay, so it affects the rear yard.
Correct.
All right. And the reason I ask is the applicant in their narrative said that the side yard setbacks, which of course they're asking for 2 variances affecting the side, that those have not changed since they bought the house. So is the assertion that the house was built, the primary structure was built into those setbacks?
Correct.
Not just the accessory dwelling unit?
Correct.
Okay, I see. Okay, that's all I needed. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Is the applicant here?
I wanted permission to speak with my mother on her behalf. She gets really, really nervous.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. Just give us both your name and addresses, and then whoever. Good morning.
Good morning. Agueda Vargas,
6906 North Hill Avenue.
Thank you so much.
Francisco Matos, 6906 North Hill Avenue, her son.
All right.
So she wanted to apologize, first of all, for building the addition in her backyard. She was completely unaware that it was illegal to do so. And her intentions were never for monetary gain, which is true to this day. That was, thank you. It was basically, she had it for the protection of her granddaughter and 3 orphan children. My daughter was married with 3 kids. Her husband passed about 2 years ago. She went into kind of a psychotic state. All right, so my mother just wanted to keep her near and protect it and make sure that the grandkids were fine and everybody was okay. She never had any intention of renting it till this day. No one has ever lived out there for monetary gain. My son Cisco is living in that space at the moment, but she built it for my granddaughter because of the issue. She came back, she had like a mental breakdown and left the house for about 8 months, 2 years ago, and she's been back in the home ever since. As soon as she was made aware of the fact that the addition was in violation of local ordinances and codes, she did hire a contractor that promised to get the permit in no more than 2 months. 2 months came and went. Said contractor kept coming up with a variety of excuses as to why I had not yet finished the work he was paid to complete. She also called the planning department and was informed of the irregularities in her construction. She was also informed that the way to resolve the problem was by applying for a variance. Over 5 months passed while she waited on action on part of the hired contractor for the variance application, and the contractor stopped answering her phone calls after getting paid. When she received the citation in March of 2024, she called Mr. Roman, I'm not sure who Mr. Roman is. Supervisor. That's the supervisor, okay. And okay, inspector. And let him know that she was in the process of starting a variance application. It was very hard for her to find a company or individual willing to start a variance application to help with the variance. And when she finally hired someone, he took her money, and did not file the variance application. This is the reason she's here. She's representing herself and her husband because her husband has an advanced case of Alzheimer's and Parkinson's disease and can't help in any appreciable way. Actually, she dedicates most of her waking hours to caring for my father. So that's all I have to say.
Let me just ask you a quick question, just to make sure I understand. So the house, when she bought it, the side yard setbacks, those are already, she didn't add on to the sides of either side of the house. It was only to the rear for the accessory.
That's correct, yes.
Okay. All right. And did you talk to your neighbors, especially that one to the west that are next door?
Yes, we did.
She did.
They have any problem.
No problems. Okay. All right. That's all I had. Thank you so much. If you could both sign in. Thank you. If you could sign in with the clerk's office. Thank you. All right. Is there anyone in the room or online that would like to speak in support? Anyone in favor? All right. Seeing no one, anyone in opposition to the request? No one. All right. Ms. Marshall, anything else?
Nothing further.
Sir, anything you want to add before I close? Anything else? Okay, thank you very much. I appreciate it. You're welcome. All right, then with that, we'll close variance 24-1028 and go to the next case.
Next item is item H9, variance 24-1030. The applicant is Albert and Sandra Ivy. The request is variance to fence requirements. Staff findings to be provided by Michelle Montalbano.
Okay.
Good morning, Michelle Montalbano. This is variance 24-1030. The applicant is requesting a variance to fence height requirements to accommodate an existing fence in their front yard. Per LDC section 60702, fences over 4 feet in height are not permitted within required front yards, with exceptions that do not apply to this case. An existing stretch of fencing in the front yard is 5 feet tall, resulting in a 1-foot variance request. The other approximate half of the fencing in the front yard is 4 feet in height and therefore is not included in this variance request. The property has a notice of violation by code enforcement for the fencing height violation. I'm available for any questions.
Just a quick question, if you know, otherwise I'll ask the applicant. The 5-foot high portion, was that existing and the new fence was 4 feet, or the other way around?
Based on my conversations with the applicant, the 5-foot fencing has been there 18 years, I believe, and then the 4-foot fencing was installed in the past year or so.
Okay, that's what I need. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Is the applicant here? Yes. Good morning.
Good morning. My name is Sandra Ivy. I live at 3404 Holland Drive, Brandon, Florida, 33511. I'm here to ask a variance for my fence in front of my house. We built this house 18 years ago. We thought we had 1 acre, but there is some easements that the bank took on the north side. Here recently, I had a problem in my neighborhood where someone brought a shipping container in, and this is how this started, because I complained about it. And I have a nice home. We have nice property. It's well taken care of in and out on the county property as well. And I was cited for 5-foot fence that's been there 8 years. And I feel that it would be a hardship to have to tear it up, replace it when it's been there all those years. My husband is 80 years old. I'm almost 75. And right now, the way things are with taxes and insurance, I think that it would be a real hardship on us to have to tear that up and have to replace it. It's well kept. The area is beautiful. We have a lot of trees. And right now, I have to fence in because we got people coming in and going to the back and sleeping. And I feel that if we have to start tearing stuff up, it would be a real hardship for me and my husband. My husband is not a well man. He's been through cancer twice, open heart. And I just don't want to put more stress on him to cause a problem with his health. Because this is a man that loves working outside and keeping things up. So I really would appreciate if you all would give us permission to be able to keep that fence, because otherwise I would have to cut it down, and it's not going to work on a wrought iron fence. It would be better to have to replace the whole thing, and that's going to cost a lot. We've already contributed for the variance, so.
Let me ask you a question. So you heard my question to this staff. So the original fence that you put up, you said 8 years ago, that's the 5-foot. That's the 5 foot.
18 years ago.
Oh, 18 years ago when you built the house, you put up the 5-foot high fence.
That was a 5-foot fence because the county told us they were always in that area as long as they could get in there, because we had to put the water meter out there. They said as long as they can get in or something. I said it's not a problem. It's open where they can come in through the driveway or if they have to do anything on our property. But the other ½ acre, we had to do a 4-foot fence because that's what the fence company required. It would have looked better to have had that whole 5 foot go down the front. So
And that's the part you put in about a year ago?
yes.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Yes.
All right, I understand.
And they showed us how to connect them where it would look nice, because it's a beautiful piece of property. And I hope that I'll be able to stay there until I get a little bit older.
All right. Anything you want to add else before I move on?
No, ma'am, I'm just asking if you all would consider.
All right. Thank you so much for your testimony. If you could please sign in. All right. We'll ask for anyone that would like to speak in support. Anyone in favor? Seeing no one. Anyone in opposition? How many people would like to speak?
There's 3 of us.
There's 3. Okay. Let me ask, is there anyone online? No. Okay. So you have 15 minutes, so that's 5 minutes apiece, or however you'd like to apportion it, but it's 15 minutes total for all of you.
Okay.
Give us your name and address, please.
Good morning. My name is Grant Butler, 3411 Holland Drive. As discussed, the fence directly in front of the applicant's house is 5 foot high, with the maximum requirement being 4 feet. With the recent fence that was installed, it creates an inconsistent height across the front of the property, which is not aesthetically pleasing. It doesn't look good, so that's why we're requesting the variance to be denied. Whether that be the new fence brought up to 5 foot, so it's one equal height, or the existing 5 foot fence being brought down to 4 foot.
All right. And how long have you lived across the street?
I've lived across the street for approximately 3 years. Yeah.
All right, and so it's not the existing fence that is your concern, it's now that there's two different heights? Is
Yeah,
that
that's
the
what
problem?
it is, yeah. It wouldn't matter to me if one was brought down or the other one was brought up. It's just if it was one consistent height, it would look better.
Understood. All right, thank you so much.
Thank
If
you.
you could please sign in. Next, please. You'll have the last word at the end, ma'am. Good morning.
Good morning. My name is John Crawford. I'm 3410 Holland Drive. I live right next to Sandra Ivy, and I've been there since 1994, built the house. I have 4 acres. Obviously, I was there before her. She is correct. The bank did take about 1/10 of an acre from her 1 acre land. I'm kind of agree with what Grant just said, that we have 5-foot fence up there, which is not to code. And I've known it's not been to code for years because Miss Ivy has cited me to code enforcement 9 times, and I have never been in compliance. I am the one that, the 9th time with the container, I replaced a 20-foot container with a 40-foot for storage. And the day I put it in, she was already complaining. And I'm not sure why, because she can't see it from her place. And she was talking it's going to cost her money. Well, I'm into about $2,000 already for engineering to secure the container to the ground. And probably 95% of the containers in the county are not secured because they aren't called in. So because she's gone after so many people in the neighborhood to stick within the code, I think that this needs to be stayed within the code, saying she goes after everybody else, and she needs to apply by the rules. That's all I have to say.
Thank you so much. If you could please sign in. All right, is there one more person that wanted to speak? No, oh, okay. So you're sure that no one else before we move on? You're good? Okay, thank you so much. Then with that, we'll go back to Development Services. Ms. Marshall?
Nothing further.
Any idea when that 4-foot limitation came into the code? Just by chance?
No, it's been in the code for quite a while.
Quite a while,
but-
okay. All right,
Sure.
thank you so much. All right, so we'll go back to the applicant. Ms. Ivy, you have 5 minutes for rebuttal to say anything you'd like.
The gentleman that spoke before him does not live in front of my home. My house is on this piece of property, and it's by itself. I've sent copies of pictures of my home, and I have a beautiful home, and it's well kept. I don't see where my fence across the street has anything to do with someone that's down the street. He's not directly in front of my home. He's not next to my property. So I don't know how this would affect Grant down the street. And he has not been there that long. I've been there 18 years. And I have a beautiful piece of property, and I will stand by that, and it's well kept. So I don't know where this came about, where they're not conducive. They don't look well together. They look very well together. And I have sent Mrs. Montevallo pictures of my property. And yes, I do have a very nice home. We recently painted and did our roof, did plants. The property is quite well kept. And I just want to elaborate on that. Also, I would like to thank Lori Borland and Carmen Mason and Michelle Montalbano, because they were so helpful with me getting all my paperwork done. There are so many steps that you have to go through, and I just feel that you all have some good people here that care and are here to instruct someone when they're not that knowledgeable, because I've never had to deal with this. And neither has my husband. So I don't need confrontation in my neighborhood. I am the only minority in my neighborhood on that street. And it's unacceptable for someone that hasn't even been there that long to come and complain about the lengths of the fence. The way it was done by the fence company told my husband how to connect them where they would look beautiful. It looks very nice because that other half acre of my property is all trees. It's like a park. But the one that's in front of my house is the 5-foot fence that was originally there. So a lot of things started to happen when we started to doing things on our property. And thank you so much for having me to come back and explain how I feel.
Thank you, and thank you for complimenting the staff. They work very hard, so I appreciate that. All right, then with that, we'll close variance 24-1030, and we'll go back to the case where the applicant was not here. Do we have any more information on that? It's variance 24-0852.
Yes, the applicant representative is now available virtually.
Okay. All right, so my recollection was we did the staff presentation, correct?
Yes.
All right, so we'll go to the applicant for variance case 24-0852. Good morning.
Hey, how's it going?
Good.
Yeah, thank you. We appreciate you guys getting us on. I do apologize. We had planned to be there in person. We had a discrepancy in the time of the meeting. Our goal was to be there. We thought the meeting was this afternoon, so I do apologize. And thank you again to your staff for giving us a call and getting us on and allowing us to come in here virtually. So if I may, I'd like to share my screen and just go over kind of what we're proposing.
Can you state your name and address for the record, please?
My name is Daniel Everly, Maryland Hearing. My address is 780 94th Avenue North, Suite 102, St. Petersburg, Florida, 33702.
Okay, go ahead.
I'm sharing my screen now. So just to kind of give an overview of what we're trying to do, the applicant currently has a property that has two duplex units on the property. As you can see on the Google Earth image that I'm showing here, it's not very well developed. There's really no clear-cut driveway, no clear-cut parking. Cars just kind of
right, thank you so much. I appreciate it. Is there anyone in the room or online that would like to speak in support? Anyone in favor? Seeing no one, anyone in opposition to this request? All right, no one? Ms. Marshall, anything else?
Nothing further.
All right, sir, you have the last word if you'd like it before we close.
I think we're okay. I would like to say again, thank you guys for your staff and the help that you've given us through this process. And again, I do apologize for not being on earlier. And we do appreciate you guys jumping in and making sure you got in touch with us to get us on. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you. Then with that, we'll close variance 24-0852. And I believe that was the last case. Is that correct? All right, then we will adjourn the hearing. Thank you all for your time and testimony.